Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Talking Point. My name is Faraz Patel. Of course, you saw just some excerpts from Julius Malema's speech, which he gave last year at the party's 10th anniversary at the FNB Stadium. So much has changed since then. And of course, the EFF came in at a time where many new parties like COPE had entered the frame, Akhang had entered the frame, and many of them have failed to live up to the expectations, though the EFF has still maintained a sense of relevance within the National Assembly and various legislatures across the province. Joining us now, I'd like to welcome the member of the EFF Central Command team. He is no stranger to Hilaal TV. It's none other than Nazier Paulsen. Brother Nazier, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Faraz, to you and to the viewers. And shukran so much for inviting us.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. 11 years, Nazier, you were there, of course, when everything happened at Constitutional Hill. Talk to us about the progression of the Red Berets.
Well, when I think about it, 11 years ago, round about the 19th, 18th, we ascended at shaft 17. 19th, 18th of July, we ascended at shaft 17 to prepare the documents for the launch of the EFF a week later. So it was representatives from around the country, every province, every provincial, every province had an interim leadership structure. I, of course, went with the Western Cape. I was convener of the Western Cape at the time. And we ascended on shaft 17 for the weekend to prepare the documents that would be adopted at the first National Assembly a week later. And also that would also be the launch of the EFF on the 26th July 2013. 26th July, as you know, is a very significant date because the movement that liberated Cuba from the rule of Batista was known as the 26th July movement, the movement of Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. So in that way, our mandate was clear as an organization, and our goal was clear as an organization, that we would be delivering South Africa from the rule of the neo-imperialists, the neoliberals, the white monopoly capital. And we're still very much on course in that regard.
Nazier, this year's elections are a bit disappointing for the EFF. Of course, you were overtaken by the MK party on a national level. Talk to us about that, because, I mean, no one really expected the MK party to go ahead and really create such a massive impact within a national perspective.
Yes, for us, I think, if one looks at the total impact, it's not that much for the EFF. We've lost 1% from the vote that we had in 1.5% max of the vote that we had in 2019. We've lost 5 seats in the National Assembly, which is not as significant as the huge blow that the ANC received from a 57% party down to a 40% party. So that's a significant blow. And the impact on the EFF pales in comparison. But the most important thing is that this has then precipitated the realignment of South African politics. We do, of course, know that the ANC has formed the Government of National Unity, the so-called Government of National Unity, which comprises parties like the DA, the Freedom Front Plus, the IFP, all reactionary parties. So that is the realignment as far as those parties is concerned. But then on the other side, you have the Progressive Caucus, which is the MK Party, the EFF, the National Coloured Congress, the ATM, and the UAC. And I think it's very significant. And if one looks at it, here in the Western Cape, where the EFF has been, and especially in the Cape Metro, the EFF has been the third largest party behind the DA and the ANC. The votes the EFF garnered in 2024 in the Cape Metro is more than the votes of the Patriotic Alliance and the National Coloured Congress together. And I think as the Progressive Caucus here in the Western Cape and in Cape Town specifically, come 2026, it's going to be a watershed moment for the poor and working class people of this country, because we're on course to see a complete removal of the DA from power in the city of Cape Town.
Yeah, I want you to touch on that, Nazier, because there is the 2026 local government elections and the plan for the EFF, because the EFF has played a huge role now in various metros post the 2021 local government election. So is that going to be more of the same looking ahead to that next local government elections?
Well, typically for us as the EFF, if we had improved, we would have celebrated for a day and gone back to work the next day. And obviously, we did not improve. We suffered a bit of a setback, but we have then recovered and said, let's get to work. Let's go and rebuild this organization. We've reflected on what we've done wrong and where we can improve, and now we go and implement. You must remember that the EFF is not a party that campaigns only when it's election, because we're in a process of constantly building the organization. So we're preparing now already for 2026. We have to go back, renew our membership, launch our branches, because that is the most critical component of the EFF, are the branches and the branch members, because they are our ears and eyes in communities. And they will also be our ears and eyes in voting stations, because, as you know, presence in the voting stations is critical for any political party, because that is where your votes have to be guarded. When someone votes for you, they want to know that their vote is going to count. And it is critical that you have presence in those voting stations in order to secure those votes. So we have started and we are preparing for 2026 local government elections.
Nazier, before we go to the break, you spoke about the Progressive Caucus, the role of the EFF within that, because it, of course, it has the MK Party, it has the UAT, and it has the National Coloured Congress, and of course the African Transformation Movement. One of the discussions has, of course, within a National Assembly perspective, been that of bringing back the discussion on Phala Phala. I spoke to Carl Niehaus, who is a fellow EFF member of yours, and of course ATM President Vuyo Sungula, when we were at Parliament last week. Is there confidence that stuff like, of course, Phala Phala and so many others can be achieved within this Progressive Caucus?
Yes, for us. You see, and this is where the GNU doesn't make sense, because the DA supported impeachment or supported a move that would lead to the impeachment of the president around the Phala Phala issue. Right? Yet now, when they are part of the GNU, they have committed to not raising the Phala Phala issue. As far as the Progressive Caucus is concerned, anyone guilty of wrongdoing should be held accountable. And that is the role of the Progressive Caucus, is to make sure that nothing is going to be swept under the carpet, that no person, by virtue of his standing in politics, in society, should be allowed to get away with wrongdoing. It is illegal for any person to have more than 10,000 rands worth of foreign currency stashed away in his sofa or his mattress. We are not going to allow that to happen.
After the break, I continue my conversation with Nazier Paulsen, the EFF, marking 11 years since it has entered the political space in South Africa. Welcome back. I'm in conversation with Nazier Paulsen, a member of the EFF Central Command team, as the Red Berets celebrate 11 years of their existence in the South African political space. Nazier, we've seen the EFF play quite a huge role in coalition governments dating back from 2016 up until, of course, the 2021 local government elections. What has the party learned from previous negotiations, which, if it comes to the EFF really playing a significant role in local government, that they can use for 2026?
Yes, we weren't in coalition in 2016, but what we did was to give our votes to a party that would help unseat the ANC from power in those metros. And the effect of that has been that the ANC has lost control over the purse strings of those metros, and they were no longer able to build or maintain their politics of patronage. And that is what led to the significant weakening of the ANC in 2019, as well as in 2021 and 2024. So the less power or the less control the ANC has over the fiscus of a metro or a province or even national, the weaker the ANC becomes, because the ANC has become a political party, a corrupt organization built on patronage, where the influence you have over tenders and the disbursement of money from the fiscus is what maintains the political organization, and that has been to the detriment of the citizens of this country.
Nazier, the 7 cardinal pillars has, of course, been a huge part of the EFF, and, of course, its formation, from land expropriation without compensation to the nationalizations of mines and the Reserve Bank. Of course, you sit in the opposition benches now, but many of the EFF members within the National Assembly will have been part of portfolio committees. Now, of course, sitting in the opposition benches makes it difficult for you as the EFF to try and make it into law. So how do you, sitting on the other side, convince the lawmakers that the 7 cardinal pillars need to be part and parcel of South Africa?
Yes. For us, so in 2019, in the 6th Parliament, we were 44 EFF MPs. We now have the Progressive Caucus that shares the principles of the EFF. The Progressive Caucus is 102 members. I think we are now in a far stronger position than what we were in 2019 or in the previous parliament. And remember that of the parties within the Progressive Caucus, the Umkhonto we Sizwe has 58 members, the EFF has 39 members. But you must remember the Umkhonto we Sizwe is fairly young compared to the EFF that is 11 years old, an established organization. And we will assist in making sure that where members of the Progressive Caucus, parties within the Progressive Caucus, where they need assistance, that we will be there to make sure that none of the parties in the Progressive Caucus will fail. We are there to support one another. We are no longer 44. We are 102 members of the Progressive Caucus.
Nazier, accountability mechanisms, everyone's been watching, of course, what has been unfolding in Parliament for the last few days, from the President's budget speech to various activities happening there. How does the EFF, along with the Progressive Caucus, provide accountability mechanisms that can be used not only in the National Assembly but also in the provincial legislatures?
Yes, I think it's very important that the EFF, the Commander-in-Chief, has now committed that the EFF is going to make sure that we address those issues where the executive, where the governing GNU is found wanting in failing our people, that they'll be held to account. Remember, there was also a matter, a motion, a draft resolution adopted on the 21st of November 2023 that would lead to the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador. Now, in terms of international relations environment, the ANC supported that draft resolution. The DA opposed it. They are now in the same GNU. The president has still not assented to that particular motion. He has still not given it effect that would see the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador. We are going to say that this is still outstanding since the sixth administration. Just as he has signed into law now the climate change bill, he has to sign that into law as well. He is duty bound to do so.
I want to bring up VBS Bank, and I want you to just give me a second to try and get this question through, because yesterday in an interview with the VBS Funders Association, its CEO Kenneth Mativa said that the EFF has committed to pay 1 million rand a month as they received 5 million rand gratification. Now, when we talk of VBS Mutual Bank, of course, the EFF's name comes up, and I think both you and I know with regards to the controversy with regards to that. How important is it from your party's perspective that there's clarity with regards to the VBS Bank saga? Because the EFF has, of course, been a party that has said that they are pro-poor and that they will support those who were affected by what happened at the VBS Mutual Bank. Talk to us about that, please, Nazier.
Yeah, it's not a topic that I even feel comfortable discussing, but because I think that the Commander-in-Chief, the Deputy President, the former National Chair down in Mpofu, they have already discussed the issue at length, where we have said that everyone who's involved in wrongdoing, as far as VBS or any other bank is concerned, should be held accountable. And we have in no way approached VBS to form part of whatever took place there. The EFF was approached.
Nazier, no, continue, please. Yeah, you were saying?
And the former CEO was the one that offered money to the EFF. We never approached them and asked them for money. So to me, it's very different from all the other instances. And I think the last thing we'd want to do is to be part of any situation that would involve disadvantaging poor Black people. And if the EFF has committed that they would do what they need to do to remedy the situation, then I would appreciate that and accept it as a member of the public. Because I do know that the commitment to the poor and working class will always be there.
Nazier, one final question before we end this conversation. The EFF's foreign policy, I want to talk especially on that on Palestine. It's been clear, I think the party has on many occasions said that the liberation of Palestine remains foremost and it remains a priority in terms of the party's take on international relations. The genocide is still ongoing. What will the party do in order to make sure that, from South Africa's perspective, there's a harder stance in trying to end the genocide that is happening in Palestine and try and make sure that liberation is brought to the people who have undergone over 7 decades of oppression.
Yes. The ICC court has also ruled that Benjamin Netanyahu is guilty of genocide, right? And there's an arrest warrant for him. So he's currently in the United States. The United States wanted South Africa to arrest Vladimir Putin on the basis that the ICC has a ruling against Vladimir Putin. We will now see the hypocrisy of the United States, where a war criminal, someone guilty of genocide, is allowed to enter their country and leave untouched. It shows the hypocrisy of the Western world. We would probably also have the similar stance from the Democratic Alliance here in South Africa, would not call for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu. But we are very clear. There is only one caucus that supports the freedom of Palestine sincerely and truly, and that is the parties within the Progressive Caucus. Whatever party in the GNU has pretended to be in support of the Palestinians, we all know it was electioneering and there was no sincerity. But we will ensure that, number one, the president assents to the resolution adopted by Parliament to expel the Israeli embassy. We'll go on further to make sure that there are boycotts, that the cultural and trade boycotts and divestment from the occupied territories until Palestine is free.
Inshallah, do that for a free and liberated Palestine. Brother Nazier, always a pleasure having you on here on Hilaal TV. Much appreciated. Shukran so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's Nazier Paulsen, member of the EFF Central Command team. Yes, 11 years of the economic freedom fighters, and they have brought something different towards the political space of the country. And of course, interesting to see how they will now try and go ahead and contest the 2026 local government elections after seeing what has happened at this year's national and provincial elections. That's all we have for you here on Talking Point. From myself, Faraz Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.